What's happening? Kevin Madison here, and in this video I'm going to share with you a personal practice that I have come to love going on now 20 years, and it's journaling. Okay, this journal that I'm holding here dates back to September 4th, 2004. So I've been at this a while. I actually have some that are a couple years older than this because I started journaling in 2002. I have journals on top of journals on top of journals filled with my thoughts, my situations, my perspectives, just everything. My joys, my pains, my come-ups, my depression, everything. And the primary reason, what got the ball rolling for me was in 2002. I can't recall who said it, where I read it, but it said, an examined life is a well-lived life. And see, for me, that made an indelible impact because at that point, I was 22 years old. I was sick and tired of being able to judge other people, highlight their shortcomings, highlight their blunders, highlight their errors in judgment, and then be a hypocrite and go, within the confines of my own home or my own space and do the same thing that I was judging other people for. I got tired of that. I felt like a hypocrite. I felt like a phony. It caused me to lie, not just to other people, but to myself on a constant basis. And that's a cycle that when you get into, it's a very tumultuous, it's a very harsh cycle, because when you are your own worst enemy and you know that, but yet you are continuing down that path and allowing the same behavior to continue, you feel like you're in a damn prison of the worst kind. Yes, being locked up in a physical prison is horrible, but when you're locked in a prison within the confines of your own mind and you do not see a way to get out, there is no parole date, there is no chance of getting out early, because you know that in order to remedy the situation, you got to confront and face some things that you pretty much have been running away from for your entire life. That was where I find myself. So when I read that an examined life is a well-lived life, it hit me hard, because I got sick of being able to examine and pick apart everybody else, but living like a hypocrite and feeling like shit, basically. Okay. And pardon my language, I do curse. I don't mean to be offensive. I don't mean to be lewd, but it's just the way that I express myself. I am a linguophile. I do love the English language. I love learning new words. So you'll hear different words that I use, but you're also going to hear some cursing as well. But anyway, back to it. When I read that, I said to myself, that is something that I will make use of. I will make applicable to my life, examining my own life. And that's when I got put onto journaling. I heard a man by the name of James Rohn. He died in 2009, if I'm not mistaken. He was my first mentor that really gave me an idea of how important and how valuable journaling could be. And it was because of him that allowed for me to see my own errors in my judgment, allowed me to see my own negative or unbecoming attributes and be able to say, hey, the problem isn't out there. The problem isn't these people. The problem isn't anything else or anybody else. The problem is me. If there's going to be change, it has to begin here. Journaling allowed for me to put those thoughts that I would literally reference, that I would live from, that I would gain my perspective from, that I would approach everyday life from. It allowed me to make these thoughts real, all those thoughts real, and be able to look at them and say, now, how does that sound, Kevin? How does that help you? How does that serve you? How does that align with you wanting to become rich and powerful and influential and all these things that you want? How does this thought and you thinking this way help that? See, when I began journaling, I can see just right here, even in 2004, a couple of years after journaling, I was very much rooted in a negative perception of myself, a negative conception of self. I didn't know how to see myself, but I knew how to see other people negatively. And thus doing that, I defined myself. I would look at other people negatively, judge them, highlight their shortcomings, their attributes, their errors in judgment. And in the process, even though I thought I was doing it to them, I was really defining myself, thus doing it unto myself. I got sick of feeling like that. I got sick of lying to not other people. I got sick of lying to myself. And when you're able to journal, it gives you self-accountability. It allows for you to see exactly where the problem really is. You see, when you don't give form and shape to something, you're just left to kind of this amorphous, meaning very, very, unidentifiable thing, that this figment of your imagination. When you give form and shape to your thoughts, you're now able to see exactly what it is that you got fishing around, or that you got swimming around in your mind, that you draw from and reference and go about your daily life. Whether you're a business person, whether you're a student, a coach, a stay-at-home parent, whatever role that you play, when you are able to examine your thoughts, when you're able to take down what it is that you have in here and put it down and give it form and give it shape, you're now able to look at yourself objectively, which is something most people live and die without ever doing. I'm here to tell you that journaling, and this is the second part to why I journal, journaling allows for you to convey the essence of who you are to those who will read it after you're gone, and to your very own self in latter years. What do I mean by that? Simple. When you write something, especially when it pertains to your own life, you give feeling to it. And I teach all of my clients that I work one-on-one with, whether they're professional athletes in the NFL or NBA or superbly talented entrepreneurs. What I teach is that when you write something, you are writing with feeling. Very rarely, if at all, does a person write about their very own self, their very own life, their very own thoughts without feeling going into those words. When I write, the feeling and the emotion, the time and space and when it occurred, if it was a situation or if it involved people, I am really reliving that and transcribing it onto paper, onto my journal, into my journals, giving it shape and form. So when I do read it again, those same feelings, those same memories are able to be brought up and immediately brought to the vanguard of my mind. So then I can assess from a whole different perspective than when I was actually in that situation or holding space with that person, for the good or to the not so good. Journaling allows for any and all situations to be examined, and that is why I journal. So the feelings that I am having when I'm journaling are the same feelings that are going to be conveyed to people who read these, because if you do it well enough, it doesn't matter if you're grammatically correct. I'm sure it helps as far as flair and pizzazz, but if you convey exactly how you're feeling, even in is what you would call, as what some would call gibberish. If you're just writing and you don't really know or have any kind of structure to what you're saying, you would be able, a person reading it or your very own self will be able to see what kind of state of mind that you were in, giving you that feeling of, okay, this person was angry, this person was confused, this person was let down or depressed. You can tell just by the deposit of how you put those words onto paper. The deposit will be able to be conveyed to people who look at them, and for your own self in latter years. So journaling for me comes in two parts, or the benefit comes in two parts. It allows me to examine my own life, to make the corrections and my errors in judgment, but it also allows me to retain and keep the feelings of that which meant something to me, whether it was favorable or unfavorable. Remember this, unfavorable is not to be ignored. Negative is not to be ignored. It's to be mastered. There's no better way to master the negative than to record your thoughts and then actually record the solutions and how you approached it to conquer and to overcome whatever unfavorable or unbecoming circumstance, situation, or person cross paths in your life with your very own. So with that being said, I hope I've given you an idea of why I journal and how powerful it has been for me, going on nearly 20 years. I'm in my late 30s. I started when I was 22 years old. When you journal, you mustn't, let me give you another tidbit. When you journal, allow yourself to journal when you're most powerful. Like for me, when I journal, it's either in the first thing in the morning or at the last crack or the last stroke of the final hour of the day, because it allows myself to get it allows me to give me my daily bread in the morning. I give myself my own daily bread. I give myself my own positive affirming thoughts, the things that I'm thinking about that I would like to achieve throughout the day. And it gives me an idea to remember, or give me an opportunity to look back and say, was I in alignment with what it is that I wanted, my highest aim? When I'm able to look back through my journals on the first entry that I make on a day-to-day basis, it allows me to see, what was I thinking? How was I thinking? Was it in alignment with my highest aim and what I want to do with my career, with my family, with every aspect of my life? And then reading the entries that I put in the last hour of the day before I go to bed, or when it's nearing my time to go to bed. Sometimes, I may do it a few hours before I go to bed, or if I'm going out late. Sometimes I may not even journal. I'll wait to do it the next morning if I've had a late night. I'm not saying that I'm consistent every single day, morning and night, but I'm consistent with journaling, not going, I don't miss a day where it's like a repetitive thing, like 2-3 days gap. No, I don't make that a habit. So that's what I meant to say. I don't make it a habit to miss days. If I do miss a night of entry, best believe that very next morning, an entry will be done. That's the discipline. That's the practice. And that's something that I had to develop as a habit. But anyway, journal when you feel most powerful. I feel most powerful in the brand new awakening to a new day. And as I'm closing out and being thankful for living yet another day. So that's when I feel most powerful to journal. That's when my mind is at most peaceful, is at rest. So I can really enter or give my entries the feeling and the perspective that I will know will serve me or whoever reads it one day. And then, in those moments where I feel that I need to journal because something that has been said, something that has been done that I feel will make a contribution to me, whether unfavorable or favorable, I journal it. I'm not saying that you have to be regimented to where you only journal in the morning and the evening. If you feel compelled to record your thoughts, do it. And I've done that many times, but there is a uniformity to my journaling where in the beginning of the day, before I do anything, I give myself my own daily bread. I give myself my own good thoughts, my own objectives for the day, my own objectives for who I want to be that day. And here's the thing. Most people never, ever, 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 ever look at their days like that. As in, what do I want to be today? People have this very general amorphous idea of what they want to be in the totality of their lives and what they want to do. But see, life isn't lived as in one big thing, one big occurrence. Life is lived at one day at a time. And if you're able to create within yourself that perspective that life is lived one day at a time, and you take meticulous care and time to record your thoughts on a day-to-day basis, you'll find that your life will be reflective of that of your highest aim. Why? Because when you think meticulously on a day-to-day basis, you allow yourself and you give yourself a chance to look at yourself objectively, like I just mentioned a few minutes ago. And when you look at yourself objectively, what you're saying is that I'm open for change. I'm open for correction. I'm open for amendment. And when you're able to look at yourself like that and not dismiss it, not try to escape it, not try to put it off and find fault in others, when you're able to just confront your very own self, you become a powerful human being. And when you become a powerful human being, you're now able to summon things unto you that otherwise would have laid dormant or just would have pretty much been repulsed by you. Because any and all things comes through people. And how you feel and how you treat yourself emanates from you, whether you think so or not. So when you take the time, the meticulous time and care to journal, to record your thoughts, to examine yourself objectively, what you're saying is that I am worthy of all the good things to come to me because I am taking care of the most important thing on this earth. My very own mind, my very own self, my very own life. And people like what is taken care of. People like a manicured lawn. People like a well-kept house. People like a well-running car, clean car, nice car. People like well-accommodated, furnished accommodations when they go on a vacation. People like a well-kept human being, not just on the outside, but inside. This is you being well-kept, keeping yourself journaling. So I hope I've served you. I think I've talked enough. 13 minutes is more than enough. I hope, and I say hope only because it's up to you to ponder, internalize, and make this applicable to your life. Other than that, I just simply project the state that I'm in unto you. So when you hear me say I'm well, that's me saying you're well as well. And I hope that you take what it is that I share and you make it applicable to your life so that the reality of you being well is just that. Stay G.